My name is Jess West, and I'm here to tell you a little story about Jess West costumes. So, to be completely honest with you, I can honestly tell you that I was born to create. I was born to make things. At the age of 3 years old, I was perfectly filling in coloring books within the line, immaculately. My aunts, uncles, my parents, they were all in all of that and encouraged me artistically. In 6th grade, I wanted to be Poison Ivy from the 90s Batman villain movies. I loved her costume. But as a 12-year-old girl, I was 5'9", and kids' costumes didn't quite fit. I was very artsy, and I wanted to make something elaborate that I felt like looked, just from the movie. So that's exactly what I did. My mother taught me how to sew. I went ahead and built a custom bodysuit. I decorated with leaves and vines from the dollar store. I made a foam mask for my eyes, and without my mother's permission, dyed my hair red with Kool-Aid. It didn't come out for a while. So I go to school in this wonderful getup, and the first thing that happens to me is I get sent to the principal's office. They thought that as a 12-year-old, I shouldn't wear such a tight-fitting, outfit. And I claimed to them, I made this. I made all of this. And they were proud of that, I think, because they let me go back to class. I competed in my first costume contest that day and won. And that right there, I was like, whoo, that felt good. Making something out of my own talents. And so all through school, high school and whatnot, I continued making costumes and whatnot. Ended up going to college. I thought I should go to college for merchandising because I already knew how to make costumes. So I kind of wanted to learn the business aspect of everything. I racked up a bunch of student loans, didn't quite know what I was going to do with my degree, came back to Indianapolis with my tail between my legs like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Student loans, I'm sure you all know, are crazy. So I'm sitting there one day close to Halloween, stressed. And I hear an advertisement on the radio from Radio Now. They're giving away $1,000 for a costume contest for Halloween. And I tell you what, that's one thing I know how to do. I know how to make costumes, so that's exactly what I did. But the one thing I had to do was make something that was better than everyone else. I had to guarantee that I would win. So I came up with a concept that I knew would win. I do something called transition costumes. I take one character and I transform into something else right on stage before your eyes. It's a magic trick, if you will. That particular costume was a mummy. I took gauze, because it was really cheap, covered it with coffee grounds so it looked dirty, put baby powder on my sleeve so when I smacked myself I looked like I was full of dust and ancient, made a mask, and went to the costume contest. 3 hours later, I got up on stage, and they called the mummy. And I get up there, now keep in mind the sides of this costume are all Velcro. So I ripped this costume off and I threw it at the crowd and I turned into this beautiful golden Egyptian goddess right before everyone's eyes, and they lost their minds. And I won $1,000. Woo! So, throughout the years, I've made a lot of transition costumes. I actually brought a transition costume with me tonight, so you guys can take a look. Becca, if you'd like to come out. You might think that this costume looks a little bit inspired by Pirates of the Caribbean. I sculpted this mask. I made every part of this costume. But she has a little surprise underneath, if you want to go ahead and show them your transition. Keep in mind, she might have to wear this for several hours for a costume contest, and it's rather difficult. But she turns into a glorious mermaid underneath. Boom! Thank you, Becca. She's going to put on her beautiful crown. Let's give her a round of applause. She's wonderful. Thank you, Becca. This is one of a few costumes that I've done transition-wise. One of the first ones that I created was a gizmo that turned into the female gremlin with the big red lips. Another one, I built a 14-foot tall werewolf that has a trap door on his abdomen that I open up and he falls to the ground. It looks like Red Riding Hood is coming out of the belly of the beast. I cut my way out with a big knife. The other crazy claim to fame is transitions-wise. I also built a 12-foot tall devil. He has an 8-foot wide platform with a scooter on the inside, so I can drive him around. I can drive him down the street. And I walk out as an angel and open up 6-foot wings. So these transition costumes, needless to say, caused a little bit of a ruckus, got a little bit of attention in Indianapolis, created a buzz. And after years, friends of friends, Indianapolis Star at one point came to my door. Amy Bartner wanted to write an article about this costume I'm wearing today, Chewbacca. Fun facts really quick about Chewbacca. I am wearing stilts. They are drywall stilts. They are very hard to walk in, and I had to teach myself by holding onto my ceiling for dear life, and only when I was brave enough to let go and walk around. I am wearing hair extensions. These are from King's Beauty on 71st and Keystone. I bought them out of all of their hair. Gave some local business to these ladies. They were very happy. I don't know if you noticed when I came out, but Chewbacca does roar. He also has what's called an articulated jaw. So there's a spring system in his jaw, so when I open my mouth, he has the opportunity to look like he's speaking to you. Pretty cool. So, the IndyStar article, front page, that was great. They asked me to come to Gen Con. It's 6 a.m. I'm in full Chewbacca gear. 60,000 people are waiting for this costume to come through those doors, and it's 90 degrees. I'm doing a live segment on Fox 59, scared out of my mind, and I look as I'm telling this story to Fox 59, and I see Channel 6, Channel 8, Channel 13, all of them trying to rush over to get the next live feed shot. And right then I was like, man, I did something right. This is super cool. You know what I mean? After that, my business started to really boom. I used to work at Cafe Pas de Choux. I no longer had to do that. I didn't have to pick up shifts at bars. I was a full-time costume maker. And that felt, absolutely amazing. But the funny thing, about that is that people tend to, when they find out I'm a costume designer, say, you make Halloween costumes. Yes, I do. But there are other seasons in the year, right? I had to find other ways to make costumes in Indianapolis and make enough money to pay my bills. So I came up with a mission statement: I can make anything. And I think that's very true for a lot of artists. I taught myself how to sculpt masks and do electrical wiring in costumes and build big monsters, just to keep my head above water. I make bridesmaid dresses, I made wedding gowns, dance costumes, anything you can think of. Some local work that I've done, the Indiana State Department of Health has hired me to do a mascot. I have done witch costumes for all the Black Cat Society Irvington ladies. I have raised money for charity events, multiple charity events, including some Autism for Awareness. And I've even done the New Year's Eve ball drop on Georgia Street with my dancers on stage. I also have a special treat for everyone tonight. I brought some more of my monster babies. They're going to be coming through that door back there for you guys to check them all out. Iris is in the front. That's Miss Elsa. That's my niece. She's 4. Say hi, Iris. Behind her, you'll recognize Gizmo. That's my nephew, Jacob. Behind him, you will see these characters. If you girls want to stop Batman villains and do a spin for them, notice there are 4 faces on these costumes. They're a mashup of all the 90s Batman villains. Behind them, you will see Alien vs. Predator in one mask as well. You see, I don't only just do transition costumes, I also do something called a mashup costume. It gives me a little edge on the competition. I do multiple costumes in one. A lot of people, good job, Iris. A lot of people like to ask me about my design process because these things are pretty wild, aren't they? I think that there are 2 important things to a design process. The first one, I like to call it my backpack of knowledge. Every human has experience that they do, things that they learn, and you hold on to those, right? I like to think of myself as storing them in my creative backpack so that when I have a problem or something I don't know how to do, I pull those things out and I use them in the future. I think that pertains to being a designer as well. I also think having a good, strong visual capacity and good visual memory as well is very important. Remembering things that you've learned, remembering colors, knowing what looks good together, those are all super important things of the design process. And as you can see, a lot of my costumes are very complex, but I've also done some things that are funny. I don't know if you guys remember a few years ago during the Indy 500, there were the man rompers. that were everywhere. Well, I thought it would be funny to make a post on Facebook stating, guess what kind of Indy 500 man rompers I could make? You know, flying eagles and American flags and checkered flags. I had hundreds of people order them across the country. I was kidding, but then I had to perform, and we had to make them. IndyStar, once again, gave me a call and said, hey, we gotta do an article about this. This is hilarious. And I woke up the next morning to getting a phone call to find out that USA Today had picked up the story, and that I had went viral. And that I had went from local to national news. In the last few years, I've had over 30 plus or so articles and things filmed about my life and my business. And I tell you what, that makes you feel so good, especially since you've done something from the ground up and you were terrified and didn't know how you were gonna, find your way. And, that to me, I thought that was wild. USA Today called, then MTV called, then New York Yankees called. I've been supplying Aaron Judge for the New York Yankees for 4 years now, costumes in the Yankee Stadium. Do you think I ever thought that I would be going to a Yankees game? Seeing costumes? Like, that's pretty wild, right? But I tell you what, throughout all of this, the one thing that makes me probably the most proud is that I have all of these private individuals, not just large companies, ordering monsters from me, from Indianapolis, and I asked them, how'd you find out about Jess West costumes? And a lot of them say word of mouth, but a lot of them say Google. I'm Googleable. Holy cow. Holy cow. Didn't pay for that, just happened. That makes you feel really, really good. And it kind of makes me think about a quote that I really like that Einstein said. He's like, persistence can get you from point A to B, but creativity and imagination can take you anywhere. And I feel as if this might not be the end of the road for me. I might want to travel. I might use this as a stepping stone. I might not always have Jess West costumes. I might go work under some big dogs in Los Angeles and make a movie. I might have the freedom to go to Broadway and make something on stage. I might even want to go down to New Orleans and get wild and make a float. I would love that. So, you never know. This is only the beginning. I thank you all very much for coming in. And if anyone ever needs something made, I'm the girl that can make anything.